Jordan Rains here with the IDP 411 podcast. Just want to tell you guys today about our sponsor of the show, expandtheboxscore.com. Expandtheboxscore.com has premium NFL and college football stats. They're adaptable, they're affordable, there's all kinds of great stuff on there from the NFL to college football. It's great for people that are in the Devy leagues looking to get that edge over their league mates. So go check out expandtheboxscore.com, proud sponsor of the show. And now without further ado, on to the IDP 411.
What's up? This is Jared Gurth, my co-host Jordan Rains, and the Dynasty Chef Steve. What's up, fellas?
What's up?
Not much. Good morning.
Good morning. Who's got two thumbs with an IDP Army shirt? This guy.
Nice. I got a couple of thumbs here. I got a shirt.
Oh, mine's buried in my laundry, so
you're gonna have to get on that life, bro.
I'm just wearing a regular old hoodie like a normal Deegan today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we got a good one today.
Yeah, we do. We're gonna go over some. Well, first off, we got some stuff planned in the near future. We're getting ready to start a kind of a big series where we're gonna go over like the divisions. We're gonna do divisional previews, and we usually don't have guests, but we have a pretty stacked little lineup coming up in the next couple of weeks. It's gonna be 8 weeks long, so this is gonna be one of our last shows before we kind of dive head first into that. So we figured we'd give, I don't know if you call this evergreen content or whatever, but we're going to give kind of a roster construction and a draft strategy show, just kind of based on some of the stuff we have been doing. We've been in some rookie drafts. We've been in some dynasty drafts. Steve's been in probably 10 times as many drafts as I've been in. So
I don't know about that.
We're just going to walk through kind of some of our strategies, some of the things we look for in drafts, some player values, that we like to snag up. Or snatch up, I guess is a better way to say it. So, but I think it's going to be a good show. I think it's going to offer people a lot of value, especially as redraft season comes around. You're going to want to be, on your A game. So,
yeah, I agree. 100%. Draft strategy, IDP strategy, roster construction. People want to know. It's probably one of the top questions I get asked around this time of year. You guys got putting good articles out. Our man Davenport puts one out. We're doing a show with him soon. So Gary Davenport put a good one out last year. This is kind of more of a cover up for everything. He's a good dude, and we appreciate him as well. So,
Well, let's just go ahead and kind of start. Jared brought something up. We've been up for a little while. It's early, but we were talking beforehand, and this is not really a draft strategy, but this is a kind of a draft strategy. It's an idea. It's when you decide between a big name and then like a guy you think will produce similarly to a big name. And Jared's, kind of said he always errs on the side of the big name. So kind of explain to us what you said beforehand, why you always go with the big name, even if you think you can find similar production from another guy.
So the main reason I say big name guys are when it comes to time to, if you feel like you had an okay draft, but you want to be deeper, a lot of guys will pay for a big name. So like we said last year, Danny Trevathan is pretty much the exact same player that Roquan is on stats. And that's what he did. But most people will pay a lot more if you look at the ADP alone for Roquan than they did for Danny Trevathan. So I will very easily go get both and trade Roquan because I'm going to get the same player and I can get a lot of draft capital for him. Maybe if I want to, especially in a dynasty league, you look at guys like CMC, Lamar Jackson, people will pay the farm for that for some reason. I'm not necessarily that guy, but I also think it's a great strategy in the aspect that, hey, let me buy this guy to sell him.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest thing. Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, people love Nick Bosa. Mm-hmm. Max Crosby was much better. So
not much better, but he was better.
Draft cap was. We're talking about a guy who was drafted in the first round of rookie drafts and a guy who went undrafted. So
now, do you have an age threshold where you stop doing that, or because there's going to be a certain point where that name is only going to carry him so far.
Yeah, like J.J. Watt, for instance. People are kind of low on J.J. Watt. I think this is a good time to get in because I think he's going to have a great season.
I think maybe you get him real low right now.
So it's It's funny, the question that I got asked, and I know big names coming up, is Charles Omenihu, who had a okay rookie season, but he's a name that everybody's buying in right now because J.J. Watt's old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I think J.J. Watt has another year or two in him, but again, he's a big name. He's a big name when it comes to quarterback hurries and quarterback hits.
Yeah, he has a
He had
ton of
like
hits.
he had like 50 quarterback hits a couple years ago. That's 50 points. So that's a big name for me. So for me, if you're talking on average 2 to 3 points a game, that could in quarterback hits.
I mean, at the end of
That's
the
a big
season,
selling point.
that's an extra 30. Real quick, guys, we want to say beforehand, we talk about IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring a lot, but here's, kind of a quick breakdown of it. Quarterback hits and assisted tackles, 1. That's referring to what Jared said with J.J. Watt, 1 point for a quarterback hit. Solo tackles, we do 2, and tackles for loss, we do 2. It's a little heavy-handed, but it gets us where we need to be at the end of the season. Forced fumbles, we got 3. Fumble recovery 3, pass defended 3, safety 3, block kick 3, and then your 6-point plays are sacks, interceptions, and IDP touchdowns. That's generally when we're talking on the show. The drafts that we're in or have been either this scoring format or something very, very similar. I'll give you an example of what Jared just said. I was in a league. I'm in a league with some guys. Shout out to Hammer Jacks. If you guys know him on Twitter, he's a good dude. He got in a league with me, and he actually did this trade. I'm not like bagging it, but I'm just saying what a big name can get you. So my buddy was in this league, and he had Saquon, and he drafted him in our regular draft. And I knew when he took Saquon because I know my buddy, I was like, he's doing what Jared's talking about. He's probably going to churn you because he didn't have good draft capital in the rookie. Well, he ended up turning Saquon in a third. He got Raheem Mostert, Nick Bosa, the 102, and the 202. And this isn't a super flex. This is a 2-quarterback league, and my buddy really needed a quarterback. So he was able to move up and take Joe Burrow. He also got CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson in the rookie draft. Plus, he got Nick Bosa and Raheem Mostert, which for basically what was Saquon in a third. I said it's a pretty even trade. He probably could have got a little bit more, but for what his team needed, he was able to go out and get the job done immediately.
Especially if he's got a decent running back already. So
yeah, and he did. He has Hernandez too, I think, and he was able to go get a blue chipper in Nick Bosa, which I was like, man, like you got a blue chip defensive end, you got a blue chip quarterback supposedly for a blue chip running back, and he's already got a couple of good running backs. So, like you said, Jared, you're able to kind of churn with name value. You might not have been able to get that with, well, I don't know. Actually, all these running back scarcity, it makes it, you can usually get something for a good running back, but that's just a good example of being able to move a name, especially at the height of their power. Like Jared said, Christian McCaffrey's on the block in his league, and he's got him. It takes some big cojones to do that, but when you sell the top, you sell the top. Nobody can stop you there. You can ride it out, or you can sell them later, or you can get the most out of it and just keep building. So I just want to throw that out there. That was kind of an idea, kind of along the same veins. You move the big names to get more value, get more pieces. What if my buddy might trade Nick Bosa for a first next year? You know what I mean? The world just keeps on spinning. So, all right, well, that was just kind of splitting the hairs between a big name and then somebody similar value. What are your guys' thoughts on linebackers or D linemen first? Who do you like to take first in your draft when you're building your roster?
Well, I know something that you said earlier to me before we got on. You like to see the draft come to you. Well, we just did a dynasty draft, and I watched Darius Leonard go number 13 overall. So he was the first pick in the second round.
So things start happening.
Yeah, that's coming to you fast.
Things are going to move, right? You're going to see linebackers come off the board a lot quicker than you really want to see. Now, let's be real. Darius Leonard's a 30-point guy in a lot of leagues, so I understand that. If you don't think you're going to, if you don't think your next guy's a 30-point guy, I can understand the move. However, I'll be honest with you. I would have went after him in the third or fourth round when I expect him to go.
Yeah.
And in that. Again, I think it's reaching. A lot of people thought it was reaching, but you know what? Overall, he's got a really good team, and it's it was an interesting move. So And he got his guy. And to be honest with you, a lot of people will pay for Darius Leonard. So in the aspect of getting a name, Darius Leonard's a name. You know, to
How did that
where
change your draft? Like when you saw that happen, what was your mind? What was your mental shift? Was it I need to go get a line? Because I know you like Darius Leonard. Every draft I'm in with you, you're the first guy to take Darius Leonard. So when you saw him go in the second, where did your head go?
well, I look to throttle back a little bit. Like, well, now I've got to look at what I'm gonna move for, and I can tell you that I went running back, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Then I went linebacker. I waited to the fifth round. I think fifth and sixth round I went back to back.
At all?
I didn't change my strategy because you know how group chats are, and if you're in a video like, dang, this dude went super high, like what's wrong with you? Like we messed with somebody. But then you saw Aaron Donald go in the fourth round, and I'm like, okay, for me, why would I get Aaron Donald if I could have got Joey Bosa? But that's just me.
Exactly.
So in that aspect, I went back to back. I went Jalen Smith, Corey Littleton. So I feel like I made up the room with my linebackers right there. I ended up trading for Tremaine Edmonds later. So I have three linebackers. I have Willie Gay, who I drafted way later. I mean, like mega later, who we all believe he's going to be a starter in Kansas City. So there's 4 or 5 starters that we think are rookies for linebacker. Somebody's going to get a gem. Somebody's not. But I like linebackers again. But I do in general because I think I'm looking at a 20-point guy. Boom, boom, boom. I'm 20, 40, 60. But then you're hurting somewhere else, especially at defensive end, defensive line, because you talk about a scarce position. We're saying there's 5 or 10 guys that are elite. So,
yeah, if that.
And you could see those guys go off the board real quick. Once you see Joey Bosa, Daniil Hunter, Aaron Donald go, people start squirming. So,
yeah. I usually am the same. I usually will go linebacker first, although I have experimented a little bit in a couple of drafts, and I've taken the plunge on Nick Bosa in those earlier rounds, and I've gone D-line, and there are positives and negatives to both. The linebackers are a little more replaceable, so it's a little bit harder for me to go take Corey Littleton or to take Joe Schobert, which I did in my last draft because I hadn't done it before. But it's easier for me to walk by them because I'm like, all right, well, I didn't get Corey Littleton, but in 6 rounds, I can get Matt Milano, and I feel good about that. Now, when I walk past Joey Bosa and I'm looking at the 6th round, 6 rounds later, the drop-off's much deeper. Then you're looking at guys like I did this in a draft recently where I did this last draft I actually did punt my DL position a little bit. And I ended up taking Brian Burns and Montez Sweat were my first and second DL guys. I ended up getting Kenny Clark as well, and I got Robert Quinn. But that's not exactly that's not a 5-star defensive line yet. It might be with Brian Burns and Sweat pan out and Kenny Clark kind of gets back to form, but it's not bad. But it's not like the D-line I have in another league where I went heavy. I'm in this league, the big league, and I went heavy on DL because they don't have IDP spots. So I shifted my mentality, and I was like, there's no IDP flex spots, so I need to nail these positions down. So I went heavy, and I went early. I got Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett. And I was like, I have 3 of potentially the top 5 guys in the league. It's an IDP 1-2-3 scoring format. So I know at the end of the season, these guys should hopefully be pushing past 200 or pushing into the 300-point range, hopefully, because they're supposed to be the top-end guys. We'll see if Myles Garrett can play the whole season, keep his temper under control. But, it really – and the reason I did that, like I said, was because they had no IDP flex spots in that league. So there are little things like that make you realize, okay, if I can't just flex a guy and I'm being forced into this position – what can I do to set myself up for more success? So I went heavy on the high end DL guys because one, it was a 14-team league. So I'm like, man, we have to start 3. So I was like, there's going to be every single week, there's going to be 50 DL guys played. If I can make sure that my team has a good market of the top end guys, I feel comfortable about that. And I hurt other spots. My wide receivers in that league are not great. you usually have to give and take a little bit to stack these spots up. But I feel good about that. And in that league, it was different. But then, like I said, in other leagues, I will go linebacker first because I'll have 2 or 3 IDP flex spots. And I'm like, okay, well, then this makes more sense because it's a more stable floor. It's more replaceable, but you can go get other guys to get those points. So
Okay.
I'm not pro one or the other. Honestly, I like to look at my rosters first and see how many IDP flex spots, if there is any, is one of the biggest things I look at first and foremost, and that kind of helps shape where my head goes. And then the other thing is the scoring. Like if it's not IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring, I try to see how close it is. And if they're capping the upside of your defensive linemen, then I'm definitely punting them and I'm going linebackers because a lot of the more traditional IDP leagues are focused more towards linebacker production essentially.
Agreed.
Okay, I got a question for you guys.
Okay.
No, I don't want to hear it, Steve.
Okay, in PPR league, if you were going to have to make a sacrifice, and we're not gonna talk about quarterback or tight end or any of the defensive guys, running back, wide receiver, and you're choosing whether you're your defensive lineman or your linebackers, whether you're stacking them up. Where are you going to make your sacrifice, running back or wide receiver?
It's wide receiver.
Is it?
Because go ahead.
Much
Greg.
more depth. Well, I mean, you just look at it. I'll give you a good example. You're probably talking 30 or 40 guys that are pretty similar in points, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the 1 or 2 breakout guys, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, breakout guys. But then after those guys, the last couple of years, and and Antonio Brown and Julio, after that, as long as Big Ben is playing, Juju Smith-Schuster is a 115 catch, 125 catch guy.
Mm-hmm.
Lock it up, right? You got guys like Amari Cooper who are 115 catch, 10 touchdown guy, 130 targets.
Mm-hmm.
I can grab a number 1 from 32 different teams. Okay, DJ Chark. A lot of guys. I mean, to where running back. Okay, man. Especially in the 2-back system, if you're going to get an elite 1-back guy, I'm taking my 30 touches from Joe Mixon compared to my 15 touches that I'm worried about, Nick Chubb getting this year.
All right, then in a super flex, where would you rather sacrifice, running back or quarterback?
I'm a little different. I'm okay sacrificing running backs because I like to get guys. I mean, there are always guys buried in draft season, especially this time of year, both ends of the spectrum, though, wide receiver or running back. Like, for instance, Golden Tate. I think I got Golden Tate in like the 18th round of this last draft I did as my wide receiver 4. Dude had like
alive.
So many. I know exactly. People forget that. As my wide receiver 4, I have Golden Tate. Tevin Coleman, I think I got him in like the 14th or 15th round as my 3rd running back. My running back core sucks, but that's because I made sure to get in this 2 quarterback league quarterbacks, and because we have to start so many IDPs, I was making sure to take Corey Littleton and Joe Schobert. I'm fine piecing together any position, honestly. I like to have one guy that I really like at a spot. So in this draft, like I said, I kind of Damian Williams and Tevin Coleman and Phillip Lindsay were the guys I ended up drafting. But I had the 101, so I took Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So while I sacrificed in that draft, I still feel good because I still have what I consider a 1. I punted wide receiver until around 6 or 7, but I got Adam Thielen as my 1. I still feel very good about that. So I like to punt, but I also, like I said earlier, like I like to find a guy that I believe can be in that top 10 and then build around him. And you can find value at any position late if you know what you're looking at. That's part of the exciting thing about being in Dynasty is, I mean, you're kind of aware. I mean, I got Deontay Johnson as my wide receiver 5. I feel good about that. And I didn't take any of these big name guys at the top of the draft. I mean, I missed out on every single big name wide receiver that I love. No Diggs, no Tyree. I mean, I've got no Godwin, no DJ Moore. No Calvin Ridley. I'm all old men. I'm team old guys a lot. I'm Adam Thielen. I'm Jarvis Landry. I'm Golden Tate. And I'm piecing together in a dynasty. I'll start my team with that year 1, sure. And I'll run them team 1, year 2. And in a year or 2, I will have guys coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay sacrificing anywhere as long as I feel like I can recoup it later. Does that
Well,
make
I mean, you guys know me. I'm huge into the NFL draft, college football. So where I have a low leg up on people is I study the recruiting to draft prospect a lot. Like I love it. I think it's like the best thing in football. So if it gives you an idea, I'm in a super flex dynasty league. I'm in the third year of the league. I have Saquon Barkley, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. Do you think I'm losing in that league anytime soon?
maybe
No.
you gotta get rid of Baker?
Yeah, I was gonna say if you keep hanging on to Baker, you might.
Well, you say that. Well, I'm going to continue this bet with you. So, especially with Stefanski at the head coach, I think
What are you gonna take off your
you're
hair?
either going to shave well, I'm going to shave my head or you're going to shave your beard. So
Okay.
pick one. So I'm not going to be shaving my head. I'll tell you that right now. So
Okay, we'll see.
I have a pretty good bet on this one. So, but like I said, I mean, so to have those guys, you know, and then I have Miles Sanders and I have Joe Mixon because, well, I'm an OU guy. I got Mark Andrews a couple years ago when everybody told me, oh, well, it's going to be Hayden Hurst. I'm like, listen, dude, he's the John Mackey Award winner. I get that. I love Oklahoma guys, but he's elite. So, yeah, he's what's up. So I ain't got a prayer of losing that league. And I've got another 3 years with these guys. So, but I could just trade any one of those 3 quarterbacks, you know, or one of the top 2 guys, as you would say, or Saquon, knowing I have Joe Mixon for a lot more coming up, you know.
And that's the other thing in Dynasty especially is you can't be married to guys forever. I mean, you have to be willing to move them so you can keep your team at a certain level. Does that make sense?
I have a question. Do you prey on guys who love certain teams?
Oh, 100%.
Like if you know, yeah.
100%. That's the thing. You got to know in your league who's the Browns fan, who's the Jets fan, who's the Pats fan, who's the Steelers. You got to know these people.
Niners fan, I got a guy to sell you.
Yep, because they're the guys that guess what because then you can look at their roster and be like, I know they're not I know the Cowboys fan is not coming off Jalen Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Steelers fan, even though he doesn't like Terrell Edmonds, is not coming off Terrell Edmonds. Like there's things like that you need to know about your league for sure.
I'm a Patriots fan, but I'll sell a Pat any day.
Well,
Yeah.
like I've always,
You just
you know
like
me,
the-
I'm a Patriots guy. I'm a Browns guy, but I love football.
Mhm.
I love Jalen Smith, but I'm gonna tell you right now, he is on my trade block. I'm not married to him at all. Like
I'm married to Jalen Smith right now. I love him.
I'm not.
All right, I got another question for you guys. So when we're talking strategy, we're going to assume that you're playing in a good IDP league. So you have at least 7 IDP starters.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in your draft and you're getting your starters filled out and like you've got your guys, how many guys do you like to carry on your bench to back these guys up? So let's say you have, just for fun, say 3, 3, and 3. You have 3 DL, 3 linebackers, and 3 defensive backs. Your spots are already full. Your draft's still going on. How many guys do you feel comfortable? Do you want on your bench when you leave the draft to feel comfortable about your depth, your whole position as a whole?
Too many.
So I'm different, right? I'm weird because I don't want to be scared about making the decision come Sunday.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know what I mean? And I've been in that position, and I know Steve's been in that position. I mean, he had this monster squad last year, and we're like, nobody cares, Steve, because
well, who I play? Do I play Crosby or Houston? You know, who do I play? Do I play Shaq Barrett or
I mean, so I don't like to be in that big position. You know, if I have 3 stud linebackers, and I have a guy who's giving me 15 to 20 points on my bench, I'm going to use him to cycle through the bye weeks. And I'm going to take a reserve off the other guys. Like, you know, always looking at the waiver wire because you don't know who might get hurt.
So you don't like to carry, like if you have 3 linebackers, you don't like to have 3 or 4 linebackers on your bench kind of way.
I don't want to have 7 linebackers.
You don't want to have 7 linebackers.
I'm okay with 3, right? And 3 good linebackers. I mean, I have 3 good linebackers. So, but I'm willing to add depth, but not something that makes me like I'm super worried about whether I should play Corey Littleton or Deion Jones this week.
Okay. Didn't we see a tweet about something like that the other day? Guy had like 10 linebackers.
Oh, this dude sent me and Steve this thing. He had like 10 or 11 linebackers. I'm like, bro, how do you make this decision? And the crazy thing is, he only starts 2 in an IDP flex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably a little too much.
Bro, I mean, we're getting stupid here.
I like to approach it kind of like I do my wide receivers and running backs. I kind of like to have a guy, if I have 3 spots, I want to have at least 3 guys on my bench that are just ready to go. But I mean, if I can find better, if I have more valuable or good players, guys that I think are going to be good, I mean, I'm not scared to keep more guys like that on my bench. I'd rather have them on my bench where someone has to come get them than on the waiver wire. So I've been hanging on to some guys like Sion Takitaki and
I'll hold on to a guy just so nobody else can play him.
see, that's kind of what I was kind of getting at. You know, it's not necessarily about what my team needs. I mean, my starters are locked in, but I like to keep my bench. So for me, I like to keep, like I said, I like to keep at least as many as I start, but I like to have maybe 2 or 3 more. So if I start 3 linebackers, my team probably has 7 or 8 linebackers on it. If I'm starting 3 DL, my team probably has 7, 8, 9 DL players on it.
Well, here's my question: what if you and I love when guys do this just to mess with the league? You put a cap on roster spots per position.
I don't like that.
I think it's fun though.
Yep.
It really makes the waiver wire interesting. It really makes your decision on keeping players or selling them. So it could. The only problem about this, it could make the league really tough, right? Which I like in a dynasty league. I like to have a lot of fun, but in a 12-team league, you're going to dwindle out some guys, especially. And Jordan's favorite saying is, "You don't win your league drafting."
Yeah.
But my saying is, you can lose it.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, if you make too many stupid boneheaded decisions, you can for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, easily lose your league drafting. I mean,
but what about so you don't like to have a lot of depth on your bench. What about you, Steve?
Not super depth.
What about you, Steve?
Well, I mean, we just talked about that. I'm not afraid to have a little extra depth on my bench, and sometimes it's a little heavy on the IDP side.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but at the same time, you know, I'm in a couple leagues where I start more IDP players than offensive players. So I don't see any reason to have my team be mostly offensive. It's like I don't play that many guys on offense. I only start
my IDP league in my IDP leagues. They are like at least as many offensive and defensive starters.
Yeah. Do you have heavier on defense?
Do what?
I go heavier top tier guys on defense because I think they're harder to get.
I mean, do you have any leagues where you start like 8 defense and you start like 10 or 12 defense, like where you have
offense? I've got a one. My main league is we have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, or you can go 1 running back, 3 wide receivers, or you can go 2 and 2, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and a kicker. And then after that, you can have 2 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, and 2 safeties.
That's it.
That's quite a bit. 2, 5. That's what we're talking 7, and basically 7. But if I can have 3 stud linebackers, 2 top tier safeties, and at least 1 top tier defensive lineman, if not 2, like if I can risk it, I can have Justin Houston who scores 300 points a year, and I get Josh Allen or Yannick or both. I'm okay with that, and I have that situation, to where, and I really like Houston now that Buckner's there. I mean, love him. So
I'm in a league, that league I was telling you about earlier, where I have Bosa, Garrett, and the other Bosa as my starting DLs. That league we have 12 starters on IDP, and we only have 8 offensive starters. So, like, in that league, it makes more sense to use more of your bench and to spend more of your draft capital on defensive players because
100% agree.
They're the meat of your team. So, you know, I know the guy we used to do stuff with, I don't even want to say his name, but y'all might know who he is. He's some crazy guy out there on Twitter. He's basically the Tiger King of IDP. Anyway, so this dude used to always be like, I don't ever have anybody on my bench. I just play the waivers, and I don't even carry any defensive players through the offseason. I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, is this real life? Like, do people really not carry any defensive players through the season and still win? So
he got fleeced in our league.
Yeah. Well, I just want
well, not all of us were in.
I just think it's important to talk about these things, because some people, because you get these guys that are like, well, I never even draft my IDPs till round 30, and it's like, then how do you win your IDP leagues? That doesn't even make any sense. So I think it's important to understand, these guys do have value. Just because somebody tells you they can pull it off some other way doesn't necessarily mean that they're telling the truth.
They're using Tiger King magic.
Yeah. Don't believe everything the Tiger King tells you.
That's a great analogy.
Well, I mean, for real. All right, let's talk about the defensive backs a little bit. We haven't really talked about them a lot, and this is a little bit, yeah. Thoughts on defensive backs, because to me, it's a position that it's almost like the tight end spot, where it's like if you don't have one of the top 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say you can stream the position, but it does. It kind of manages itself a little bit simpler. Does that make sense?
What if you have 3 top 10 though?
I mean, that's good. I mean, that's what I want.
That's what you want.
You don't have any top 5 guys, but you have 3 top 10 guys.
That sounds good to me.
I say I've done it both ways. I've streamed them, and I've had 3 top 10 guys.
My thought process is this, kind of like I said in every other spot. I try to get a guy who I think is going to fit into the top 10 mold. And right now, for me in drafts, that looks a lot like Jabril Peppers, because he was hurt at the end of last year, so he kind of falls. And I still think he's a solid top 5, top 10 guy. So if I can get Jabril Peppers as like the 13th
guy down here,
the 13th or 14th defensive back taken, and I'm getting him, and I know he's going to be a top tier guy, that's kind of my thought process. I don't go out. I almost never – I think I have Jamal Adams in one league. I never take Jamal Adams. I never take Derwin James. I never take John Johnson, although I really, really, really want to. But I never take John Johnson.
I just traded for John Johnson.
These guys are kind of those top-tier guys. But once we get past them and I see those guys popping off the board, I start looking for Jabril Peppers, Jordan Poyer, Von Bell, because I think, okay, here's a guy that is going to go 5 rounds later than Jamal Adams and could potentially score, 85, 90% of what Jamal Adams scores.
What about Harrison Smith?
Yeah, I almost threw his name out there too. I mean, the people know I love Harrison Smith. That goes without saying.
I mean, dude's massive, right? I mean, so the trade that I just did, and I just, was debating if I was going to talk about it or not, but my whole goal was to get John Johnson. I ended up getting John Johnson, Tremaine Edmonds out of the deal. But I wanted John Johnson because you know how I feel with Corey Littleton gone, and he was how many tackles did he have at first?
Corey Littleton had like 140 each of the last 2 years.
Yeah, but I'm talking about John Johnson last year before he got hurt with Corey Littleton on the team through the first 6 games.
He had like over 50 within like the first 5 or 6 games.
Was killing it. So with Corey Littleton gone, I'm looking at like I'm legit talking 140 tackles here.
Oh yeah, John Johnson is in contention for DB1 this year. Like, and if somebody tells you otherwise, they're not paying attention.
So now I have Peppers, who is my other guy, John Johnson, Harrison Smith,
119,
and somebody else.
That's good. So you like to get top end guys in your defensive back spots as much as you can.
Oh, for sure. 100%. And like we said, if Xavier McKinney can be Antoine Bethea, he could be the steal of the draft.
Yeah, in your rookie drafts, yeah.
I mean, that's why everybody thinks Jeremy Chinn's going to be so much, because they think he's going to be basically Eric Reed. So,
Steve, what are your thoughts on defensive backs? Like, how do you attack it? Do you try to just get one super stud and then piece it together? Do you like to, attack it a couple of rounds in a row and try to just stack it up a couple of those top tier guys? Or?
If I can't get a couple of my favorite guys, they're in those I would say around rounds 9 to 12.
Mm-hmm. One of those top
yeah. I'm probably just gonna stream the position, because like I was talking to you guys, there are cornerbacks. I know you guys don't like cornerbacks, but there are cornerbacks that do score points that people don't draft, that you can get much later.
Yeah. Trey Flowers, Kenny Moore, Rocky Sin. There are corners out there. I'm the same way. I use corners on my team as depth.
I like rookie corners more than any because they're targeted a lot. So Jeff Okudah is a guy that I think is going to get a lot of tackles. So
yeah,
I mean that's generally true, but that's not always the case. There are perennial scorers out there.
For sure.
Yeah, there are a few. Like I said, my strategy is usually I usually pass over the top tier guys, but I try to get a guy I think could be in that position.
I mean, Logan Ryan was what? A top 3 guy last year.
He was top 3 guy. He doesn't have a team right now, so he's actually very cheap.
He signed with the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
A 1-year deal with the Jets.
I feel bad for him. I feel bad for anybody that signs with the Jets.
I mean, he might have plenty of playing time.
Yeah, that ain't no job.
I don't have all that much belief in Sam Darnold and Adam Gase right now.
Well, you're a wise man.
It's Adam Gase. Our hate for Adam Gase is real on this show, just so everybody's clear.
Yeah. You guys got any other kind of just like tips, tricks, any sort of like hacks that you pull off? I'll tell you one of mine that I love to do on Sleeper. There are a handful of guys that are double tagged, and I don't know all of them, but I know most of the fantasy relevant ones, and I go out of my way to drop those guys on my team. Examples of that would be O'Shane Zimenez. He's DL and linebacker eligible. Chandler Jones, Zadarius Smith, DL linebacker. Trey Flowers, DL and linebacker. Montez Sweat, DL and linebacker. Brian Burns, DL and linebacker. In IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring systems, those guys, a linebacker and a DL guy they have similar sort of upside. So to be able to get a guy I can play in either spot that I know can basically produce and give me options. I like to do that a lot. There's a couple of guys at other spots that have these same kind of tags. Jabril Peppers, you can play him at linebacker or DL, or not DL, DB. But when he came in, they played him a little bit at linebacker. Kazir White, he's on the Chargers, although I don't know what his situation is going to be like this year. He's also double tagged as a safety and a linebacker. And then Olakun, another guy from Atlanta who is probably going to play where DeAndre Campbell played last year, Devondre Campbell. So he's linebacker and DB eligible too. So if you can get a guy who's going to play linebacker into your defensive back spot,
awesome.
And I like to put those guys usually come cheap near the end of the drafts. The guys I just mentioned, all of them except for Zadarius, he goes kind of high. But those other guys you can get later in your drafts. Well, I guess Montez Sweat goes a little bit higher too, and Brian Burns, but they're still a lot lower than a lot of guys. And it gives you flexibility on your roster and on your team to play guys, especially if you're playing in a league that is just straight positions, not IDP flexes. You really want to have options. So I go out of my way to get double tag guys, at least 3 or 4 of them on my team. Do you guys ever do that or look at things like that, or any little hacks?
Oh, for sure. Jordan, is it not Jordan Phillips? Adrian Phillips. I loved when he was a safety, but pretty much playing linebacker. You're just lucky when you have guys like, and some guys like Josh Allen, right?
Yep.
He could be listed as a linebacker playing defensive end. Give me all of that, So that's a big one for me. Robert Quinn has a double tag on a lot of leagues, which is awesome because I think he's going to be a baller if he's listed as defensive end for you guys.
Nick or Bradley Chubb. In Sleeper, there's a lot of guys you can play with a little bit, and it makes your building a lineup on a week. It gives you a lot of options. Do I want to go straight upside? Do I just want to play a bunch of sack monsters this week? Like screw my Leighton Vander Esch's, screw my Shaq Thompsons. I'm just throwing in Montez Sweat. I'm throwing in Robert Quinn. I'm gonna see if I can have a 12 sack week. Or do I want to screw that, and do I want to play these tackle guys, and am I trying to get that 55, 60 tackle week? Give me options. So I like having that, and I like building my roster to give me some flexibility. But that's kind of like one of my favorite little hacks in the community, or what I like to play, how I like to play.
I agree. I love that window. It's something you have to definitely look out in your league if you can.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Pay attention.
I wanted to ask you guys. I'm gonna start my rookie thing this week to set up for the next couple weeks. My biggest question to you is, what's somebody that's flying under the radar for you that either people are talking either way too much and they shouldn't be, or somebody that you feel like they're not talking about enough?
That's a rookie?
Yep.
Under the radar on defense, I think that I was just talking about him last week. Is it Daryl? The guy that the
Daryl
Seahawks.
Taylor.
Yeah, him. I think he is somebody that's not getting talked about enough. Just considering he's in a position to succeed. I mean, as far as I can tell, there's nobody else there to rush the passer. They used one of their only, their second round pick on him, so I think he needs to get talked up a little bit. But other than that, I mean, not really. I think people talk a lot about Logan Wilson. I still think people are a little low on him. I don't think people realize
Well, I think the main reason on this for me is how many young linebackers does Cincinnati have?
they got 3 now.
They added 3 this year. They had Jermaine Pratt last year. The year before that, they had the kid from Oklahoma. I can't think of his name, but
Logan Wilson's going to be the guy, right? Like,
dude, you and me have both seen Akeem Davis Gaither, right?
Yeah, I'm just talking the draft. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be the guy though. I feel like he's going to. I don't know if he's going to be that middle of the field, run the show. I don't know if it's going to be Davis Gaither or not. I feel like it's more Logan Wilson's job because, one, they took him higher. They had access to both of them at the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
I heard somewhere too that they were considering moving up into the second to draft Logan Wilson because they were worried he wasn't going to get back to them.
Yep. I'm with you. I love Logan Wilson. He's in my top 25. I won't say where yet, but
too low.
We shall see. There's some people that people might consider. I think that's too high, But for me, I'm going to tell you it's Bradley and Nay for me because you watch a guy drop to the 5th round and have 17 sacks, and if you count the Senior Bowl, he had 20 sacks. So
I think he had 13. I think he had 13.
Okay, so he would have 17 sacks. Even still, quarterback hits. He had what?
You're right. He doesn't get talked about like at all, and it's kind of weird because
when we talk about hurting and helping when the combine, I love Bradley Nay because I think he hurt himself at the combine and because he didn't have great numbers. But look at the tape.
Exactly.
So I love him overall. So, and I think he's in a good spot because are you going to pay DeMarcus Lawrence again? Nah, bro.
He's probably on some of your waiver wires out there too. I've left several rookie drafts and he's not been drafted, and I've either gone out and got him and put him on the end of my bench, or I'm just kind of letting him float out there because I don't think anybody's paying attention. And I'm just going to kind of churn through my roster, and when I do a couple trades for players and picks, he's going to get added to my bench. So
same. Yeah, I'm just in a bad spot. I've got like 3 guys that have a week 7 bye. So all defensive linemen. Sucks.
I'm going to kind of recap to people what we have talked about or kind of what our thought processes were. So one of the first things we talked about was, deciding if you want to pick a name over just a productive guy. We're always going to pick our names, our name brand players over the off brand because they have more value in trades. In your roster, they might be the same value point wise, but in the narrative, in your group chat, on Twitter, on the internet, one guy might have more steam than the other. So you usually will want to err on the side of the big name. One of the other things we talked about was the linebacker or the DL first. Who are you going to take? There are merits to both. It honestly depends on how you like to play the game, how the draft has kind of come to you. We do know that the defensive line, the scarcity of the position, and the level of the ability of players drops off faster than linebacker. So you usually want to make a move to get someone that you have confidence will be top 10. And if you can throw a couple of those guys on your team, I would rather do that than put a couple of top 10 linebacker potentials on my team. But again, this is, roster construct. Basically, what's your roster asking you for? You have to play 1 DL, 2 DL, 3 DL. So you have to kind of decide what's most important for your team. So that was something I don't know. I've never defensive backs first. I've never seen a defensive back go first in a draft. If you did, and it's anybody but Jamal Adams, I would think that person was insane. If you took Jamal Adams, I would not hold it against you because he is a special individual player. He's like a Gronk or a Kelsey or a Kittle. It's like you didn't have to do that, but and I'm sure it's going to feel great every week starting him, and I won't feel that.
But I don't know. I'd be a little shocked.
I would be shocked, but again, it's like I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do it, but I'm saying if you were going to do it, I could understand it because it's going to give you such a huge edge.
Mm-hmm.
And you can fall back and pick the 30th defensive back, and you still feel comfortable because you have the number one.
Mm-hmm.
So you put that. Now I got two top 15 guys, and the world just keeps on turning.
Yeah.
Another thing we talked about was bench depth. How many players do you like to have backing up your guys? Jared's a little bit more on the light side of things. I was a little bit more on I like to have at least one backup for every one of my starters. And if I have good players, I'm not just going to drop them. I mean, I'm going to try to either keep them or trade them to somebody that needs more depth, somebody that doesn't have good backups. And Steve was kind of on that same narrative. He likes to, I like to keep a pretty big stable in case somebody gets sick, shall we say. Then we talked a little bit about the defensive players, the number of defensive backs that you are going to be drafting, how many of them you're going to have backing up. We all kind of agreed it's better to have safeties. If you're starting 3 or 4 defensive backs, I want to always have a safety option first and foremost. I'm not scared to play a corner, but I would rather play a corner in my last spot. That's kind of my thought process. Now, if I'm in a league where I have to start corners, I usually keep similar. I'll keep my starters. I'll take 2 or 3 starters, and I'll keep 1 or 2 guys on my bench. Even though I know you can stream the position, I don't want to go messing with waivers and looking for that stuff. I like to just click, put him in, done. I got a guy. I've already figured it out. I don't have to go look and see who's available. I just got him. I like just doing that because I got to manage rosters on Sunday morning as well as answer questions and all that stuff. So, it wasn't super duper, we didn't get out the whiteboard. We weren't in meetings necessarily. There's no quizzes, but I think we gave, some pretty good advice, some good general anecdotal advice based on some experiences we've had on some draft strategy and team building stuff. Guys, if IDP Army, if you guys thought this was a good episode, we hope you did. Let us know if you would like us to go a little more in depth or you have questions about this whole episode or some of the things we said. We could do a part 2 to this, maybe after we finish the preview series. When you're getting into your redraft season, we could refresh it, update it, go deeper into something if anybody has questions, like I said. But yeah, give us feedback on all of this. There's not really any news or anything, is there? I guess the Logan Ryan signing, you guys just mentioned that, but is there anything else we need to?
Well, you got guys getting arrested like crazy. Ed Oliver just got arrested, but I think that's going to blow over because he had a gun charge because he got a DWI, which that's why I got the gun charge. So if you get a DWI in New York even though he owns the gun, it's a possession charge. So it should be pushed to misdemeanor, no problem. However, the other guys got DeAndre Baker, who was,
first
one
round
of the top draft pick. Yeah, so that is not looking good. Those are the big ones.
I'm interested to see. Yeah, we'll have to see how the suspensions work out, how some of these guys' seasons are shaping up. Sucks about Ed Oliver. It's going to be a 2-game suspension probably, no matter what happens legally. So you're looking at a 15-game, 14-game season out of him. So go get your who'd they bring in? Quentin Jefferson and
Williams, right?
Oh, Williams? No,
DeMario.
Yeah.
Addison.
Mario Addison.
That's That's a good one right there.
Those are going to be guys, and Epinesa, his first couple of weeks, AJ, or Oliver's not going to be there. Those are going to be your kind of plug and play guys, or guys that you can at least look at. I don't know if you can just plug and play replace that Oliver. But yeah, I don't really think there's any other real news, anything else really big to talk about. Steve,
No, overall, great show.
Yeah, good show, guys. Like we said, IDP Army, we love you and appreciate you. Follow us, all of our Twitter handles at 50 Shades of Drunk, at the Dynasty Chef, at Jared Gray. If you want an IDP Army shirt, I know Jared's got a handful left. What did you say you were sending some overseas today?
I sent some to the Netherlands, Hungary. I think I'm sending one to Puerto Rico.
That's awesome.
One to Germany, which is cool. So again, we are shipping internationally, but you got to add a little more for shipping. Shipping's like $15 to send it, so it takes about 10 days to get there. But shirts are $25. Please give me a little more money for the shipping. The money is going. Half the profits are going to Wounded Warrior Foundation, hence the IDP Army part of it. So half the profits will once we get to the profit side. So again, this is fun. I'm glad that people are actually enjoying what we're putting out and getting at it.
Our download numbers and stuff have just been skyrocketing lately. And it's funny because our promotion is like in the toilet. I haven't been putting out hardly any tweets or any clips or anything. I feel bad, but it's like I know our numbers are still getting run up. So we appreciate you guys. We know you're out there listening. That's why we got up at 5 o'clock this morning to do this on my day off. And I'm about to go be super dad for the next 16 hours and drink a lot of coffee and interact with y'all on Twitter today. So I don't got anything else to say. So I guess if we're good, Steve, anything?
Yep. We are awesome.
All right.
We are awesome.
It was good to have you on the show today, Steve. It's fun. And I guess we'll give it to Jared to let him have it, Jared.
Gentlemen, thanks for always. And remember, let's go, let's go, let's go.